are recording. Mr. Ben Holmes.
Hey, what's going on, man? Long time no speak. How you been?
I know it's been years. I am good, man. How are you?
I'm doing well, man. I cannot complain at all, man. The reason I had to push back the time is because I've learned that my daughter likes to barge in whenever I'm having an important conversation. It's like literally anytime between 8:30 and 9, she, tries to come in and get her good night kisses. So I was like, you know what? Let's just push it back and start, after we get her down. So
Hey, no problem, man. You can push back all day long for that type of reason.
I appreciate that, man.
How old is your daughter?
She turns 3 in July. So what, in about 3 months, she turns 3.
Wow.
But yeah, time is flying, man. It feels like just yesterday we brought her on from the hospital, and it's kind of poetic too because my brother, they just had their first child this past weekend. So to kind of see him going through that same new daddy shock and like just all the emotions that come along with it, it's just I'm just looking back smiling because I know he'll get it, but it definitely can be a overwhelming time. So I understand where he's at.
That's crazy, man. Like I last time I probably saw you was probably like at Fitzgerald's or something out in Charlotte.
Oh yeah, I was still wilding in those days. So the Ben you probably see on Instagram probably does not align with the Ben you once knew for sure.
No, I mean it's crazy how time flies, man.
Yeah,
Um, and to your point, I mean a lot of my friends are starting to have babies or and all that good stuff, and it's like, damn, man, like the one thing that just never stops is time.
man, listen, it's your biggest asset, man. I try to say that more than I should, but like literally, you have to take advantage of every single second and minute because I mean there are no do overs in this thing we call life for sure.
Yeah, it's kind of it can be overwhelming to think about sometimes, you know.
I agree. Like I didn't know where this conversation was going, but I'm actually glad we started here. Like no, with COVID, man, or like just during the pandemic, uh, I don't know, man. I feel like a lot of people kind of went through that anxiety, right? Because number one, when you're hit with something as large as a pandemic, and it seems like every time you go out in public, you're fighting for your life. It's like, oh, I can't get the virus because it's going to get me sick, and if I get sick, I may die. It's like you have these worst case scenario thoughts constantly that's flowing through your head. Like it can definitely create mental awareness and definitely can not be so favorable in a lot of circumstances. But I'm glad it's getting behind us. I'm starting to see people kind of come down a little bit. They're not as heightened as they once were, but I definitely think that it's going to be a lot of people that are going to have to take a step back and ease back into the everyday routine and not just be so quick to jump in it because it's going to feel weird.
Oh yeah, 1,000%. Even me, like I'm starting to get back into the groove of things. That's like, man, this is weird. Like it's hard to believe
Mhm.
that I was doing all this like 2.5 years ago, and then all of a sudden it just stopped, and now I gotta get back into it.
For sure.
But before we go any further, can you please introduce yourself for me?
Oh yeah, absolutely, man. My name is Benjamin Holmes. I am a man of God, a father, a husband. I take pride in those things. And aside from that, I am someone who, has been working in the financial industry for almost 16 years now. And, with some of that knowledge, I've started a company called Boardroom Vision, in which, I, state the claim or have created a slogan of helping people take back the authority over their finances. So it's a deep passion of mine, something that I think is very much needed within our society. Because one of the reasons I wanted to do this is after college I graduated with a finance degree and you know had a pretty decent job making pretty good money, but still didn't really know how to handle personal finances. I didn't really know how to apply for a car loan the right and effective way. Didn't know how to buy a home the right and effective way. Like these are things I actually learned, just going through the process and doing extra studying. But after 12 years of regular school and then 4 years of a bachelor's degree, it dawned on me like, wow, like they really don't teach us this stuff. So it's kind of a each one teach one type of mentality that I take, and just kind of can get in where I fit in wherever someone calls on me or wants coaching or wants me to come speak. I'm more than happy to provide my services.
That's awesome because you're absolutely right when it comes to financial literacy and decisioning and all that good stuff. They don't teach you that stuff in school.
No, 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 and I
Not
mean,
at all. Even if you get a finance degree, an economics degree, most of the real life stuff, they don't teach you.
mm-mm, absolutely not. And I think that's by design, right? Like they want to make sure they're creating employees so that a lot of these companies are going to have people that come in, work 30 years, develop, well, back in the day it would have been pensions, but today is 401ks, IRAs, and look to retire, whenever they turn 60, 65. Like that is the blueprint of what the American dream is. And if they effectively taught us this stuff, people would be retiring earlier, people would be living more fulfilled lives. And I think the system as we know it will look totally different. So, that's my goal to kind of put my put a time bomb into the system, for lack of a better words.
No, I mean, there's so much there to unpack, right? Because you think about society, and at the end of the day, we do need employees, right? Like,
Absolutely.
there's no question about that. But to ignore, I don't know, teaching people about mortgages, teaching people about interest rates, like real life interest rates, teaching them about different ways of investing,
Hmm.
um, the benefits of investing in property, X, Y, and Z. I mean, there's the list goes on, right?
Right.
Um, it's just kind of gross on how much they just leave out.
No, absolutely. And I think the disconnect is this, right? Like, and I learned this a long time ago from a mentor of mine. Um, the people that usually have the information, like your bankers or your politicians, so on and so forth, they're usually not the ones in the classrooms teaching, right? And the ones in the classrooms teaching have a hard time with these things as well. So you really have to have a servant attitude if you're in these quote unquote elite positions, and I really use that in quotations. I hate kind of
Yeah, yeah.
doing that separatist thing, but people that are quote unquote in power, they have to take on a servant mentality to say, hey, you know what, I'm going to leave uh, what I do from a 9 to 5 and go back and help teach um, places that usually don't get this information. So,
Not only that, but I mean, even in the curriculum, right? Nowhere in the curriculum does it say, all right, we're going to teach these people even the basics, right? Like how to take care of yourself. Like,
yep,
I don't know. It's weird and hard to think about. But the other thing that you had mentioned is the the design of creating employees, right? And not creating too many people who can go and create their own revenue. It that whole thing even got slapped in the face during the pandemic, right? Because
absolutely.
even those that did go out and create their own revenue, they had to shut down for like a year.
Yep,
And those small businesses cannot survive. Like it's so difficult.
absolutely.
And then
It,
everybody is more dependent on jobs from Amazon and Walmart and all that other stuff.
and it's interesting because I think where we're entering right now is is very intriguing because, and I don't blame the system because when you look at where we were 30, 40 years ago, we didn't really have the technology, right, that allowed this type of mass entrepreneurship that we're seeing right now. Like you just couldn't pick up your phone and use your car as a way to go make money legally. I mean, people may have did it as, like a little side hustle underneath the table or what have you. But like literally nowadays, you're like, you know what? I'm gonna download the Uber app. I'm gonna become an Uber driver, or you can like technology has really allowed freelance type of jobs that I mean, in reality, pay a lot more than what minimum wage does. So it's really changing the mentality of the everyday worker. That's why we're seeing what they're deeming now as the Great Recession or Great Resignation, because people are saying, why would I go work at McDonald's, quote unquote, for 40 hours a week for minimum wage when I can go and make the same thing doing X, Y, and Z and have a way better quality life? So I don't know. I just find it interesting, man. Like I think technology is definitely the driving force of where we're going. Uh, but there are a lot of good and bad things that are going to come about with that, in my opinion.
But do you think that it actually is replacing those jobs, or is it more of a supplemental type of income thing? Like now they
No,
can work McDonald's and be an Uber driver.
um, I I'm going by the statistics,
Yeah.
and the statistics are saying that people are resigning at like rates we have never seen before. I think part of it is because of obviously the pandemic and a lot of the unemployment wages that are being, handed out from government stipend perspective. But I think it also has to do with uh, people found a way to make ends meet during the pandemic without the traditional job. And
Yeah.
I mean, they're just continuing to do that because I keep using Uber as an example because I think it's a genius creation. Like you can cut it on whenever you want to. Like, you know
Right.
what? I don't want to drive today. I'm gonna cut it off. I'm gonna go pick my daughter up, spend some time with her, and you still get to have your life as opposed to having to clock in at a certain time because a manager is forcing you to, and you don't want to be at this place. Like, it's just the quality of life that comes up with the same type of income or maybe more depending on how many hours you work. I mean, I'm not in
Yeah.
that,
I mean, the flexibility is incredible.
and that's what I'm trying to say. That's
Yeah.
essentially what I'm trying to get to.
No, for sure. I do think that it becomes sad when I don't know. I've seen so many signs at like Popeyes, McDonald's, Bojangles. Every time I go down North Carolina, uh, they just have all these signs like, "Yo, we're starting at like $13 an hour," and it's like, what? That's nothing. Like that's nothing. But they're showing it off like they should be proud, right? Like, yo, we're paying $13 an hour. I'm like, that's I don't know. Like for me, that's absolutely nothing. Like, how can you survive off of $13 an hour and probably not even be working full time, right? Because most of those jobs don't give you 40 hours a week. At least not when I was working them.
Right. And I'm always a big advocate of entrepreneurship personally. Like when we're talking about, you know, individuals that look for a quality of life and looking to make ends meet. Now, obviously I'm an employee as well, but I'm in a position where I can take my earnings to go buy assets and things of that nature. So I think it's advantageous whenever you have a quote unquote high earning skill set, right? Uh, but either way, you have to figure out what works for you. And that's where, I mean, everyone has to do their own soul searching to determine, like, all right, is 8 hours a day at X place worth $13 an hour? Because if you have, people you have to provide for, even yourself, it may be worth the trade off. But for others, it may not. I guess it really all comes down to personal decisions. But one thing that Boardroom Vision tries to do is open up the mindset of, all right, if you're bringing in X amount of money, let's figure out how to best use that and utilize it so that you can get passive income working for you. Because essentially, no one's going to get wealthy by just working a job, right? Like you're going to have to bring
Right.
in
Right.
other types of revenue, other types of income, and you're going to have to live below your means in that process as you grind to set yourself up for a position. Because I mean, you can make $200,000 a year, or you can make $30,000 a year. If you're spending what you're making, you both people are going to be in the same position when it comes
Right.
time to retire.
Right. Right. No, so there's just so much to talk about here, but I recently went to Arizona and I met someone and we started chatting and we started talking about the value of your time. And it's different for everybody, right? Because some people will work 90 hours a week and they're like, you know what, it's worth it because I'm going to make X amount of dollars, right?
Right.
And then for other people like me, I'll admit I'm a terrible employee because my time is more valuable to me than any paycheck, or almost any paycheck, I should say.
I absolutely agree.
And so I'll do what I need to do. I'll do it well. But man, if you give me 20 minutes to like go do something else, I will go do something else. I will not sit in front of that computer and look for work, right?
Right.
I want to do what is important to me. Like
Right.
it's just the way I function, but everyone's different, right? And so like you said, you have to kind of understand yourself and what's important to you and what your goals are.
Right. No, I agree. And I think whenever we just start talking about, generational wealth and legacy and all these words that people tend to throw around these days because, they look good on a meme or a tweet or what have you,
Hmm.
all this stuff essentially comes down to freedom. I mean, that's really what we're
Yeah.
describing whenever, we talk about being able to live a certain lifestyle and have a certain type of a bank account or whatever the case may be, portfolio, whatever. It's being able to do what you want to do on your own time with no questions asked. And however you tailor that into your own personal situation, I mean, it's a thousand ways to skin a cat, but I think when you get to that place, that's truly when one I think can feel fulfilled in life. And it's number two opens up the opportunities to start thinking about passions and purpose and like some of those deeper
Right.
meaning things that can
Right.
really unlock like why we were created type of conversations. And honestly, it's funny because you always see the person that that's been grinded and got rich always say, oh well, do what's in your heart, chase your passion. Like that's easy for you to say after you got rich, right? Like these bills aren't on your
Yep.
back like they are the everyday American, right? But it is something to that, right? Like when you're able to get some of that like just immediate bill pressure off your back, like you're able to start to think a little bit more clearly, and you're starting to ask yourself like, wait, why am I here? Like some of the deeper meaning things. And I think that's when purpose is truly unlocked.
A thousand
I know we kind of
percent.
all over the place right now, but I'm just flowing with it.
No, man. I mean, I like this. This is like real because I like the saying, your mentality is your reality.
Mhm.
And I said that to a buddy of mine, and he was like, "Nah, man, that ain't true. Like, you if you're oppressed and you have nothing, you can't escape that by just simply pretending like you're like in a good spot." And I'm like, I completely
Right.
agree. I'm not saying that if I imagine $1 million, I have $1 million, right? That's not what I'm saying. But if you get to a point where you can look at things differently, right? So
Mhm.
I've met so many people throughout my lifetime at all the crazy jobs that I've had who were older, not making a lot of money, but man, they were the happiest, just most joyful people, right?
Mhm.
And that's because in their reality, they were doing a job, making money to eat, sleep, provide for whoever, and so they were beyond happy. Like, yo, I
Right.
am literally doing what I need to do. Um, and because of that, I'm sure they were living a really good life, you know?
Right.
Um, but when you do get to a point where you do become a little bit better off and you become a little bit more free, like you were saying, it's all about freedom, like doing what you want to do, when you want to do it, how you want to do it.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, your mentality is very important because there's a lot of people out there who are like, no, I can't do that. No, that's out of my reach. No, it'll never occur. My luck is shit, so I won't even try.
Right.
And it's like, dude, you gotta change your mindset and be in a positive and well intent place, and then things will occur.
Man, nah, you're hitting it right on the head. And if I'm hearing you correctly, right, it is separating imagination versus belief. Because we can sit and dream and imagine things,
Hmm.
but if it doesn't connect for you to believe it, there's like that's the belief is what changes the mindset. Like one can just sit and say, hey, I want $1 million.
Right.
But if you don't believe it because you don't have a plan or you don't think you have skill sets or whatever it takes to get $1 million, you're not going to get there. Just imagine it is one thing, but when you start to believe in something and like attach that thing to some faith, like it starts to come alive. And that's when you start to see, like, one of my favorite books is The Alchemist. And it kind of talks about this like law of just life of once you start that process and, you know, it says the universe, but the universe is God. God starts to see that you're putting things in motion, like just those quote unquote luck moments start to happen to where it's like, oh man, I'm in the right place at the right time, but that's because you started putting in the work and made yourself prepared for that moment. Like, and that's mindset is really where a lot of that starts to roll out and you see the fruits of it.
Yeah, because once you kind of accept that it can happen, and you actually take that first step, it's literally step after step after step, right?
Brick by brick.
Yep,
Absolutely.
yep. And actually, Ben Williams, you remember Ben Williams, right?
Yeah, we played golf a couple weeks ago, actually. Yeah.
Oh, that bastard never told me.
Yeah, it was me, him, Gabe, and John. Man, we went out to Rocky River, played a little round.
Oh, nice. No, well, actually, I just got done hanging out with him, and we were kind of talking about this a little bit. Where in reality, you just kind of got to do it, right?
Yep.
And it's crazy how many people out there in this universe have gone out and just started doing something, right? Whether it's
Mhm.
painting, dancing, a small business, and investing, whatever it may be. But once they start doing it, and they're doing it, and they're doing it, next thing you know, they're being successful. Next thing you know, they have the freedom. Next thing you know, they're doing all these things. But it all started because they just did it.
Yep.
And if
Yep.
you have a mentality of like, nah, it'll never happen, then you're never gonna start.
Absolutely. And
Um,
one thing I had to learn to that point too is when you just do it, you realize, like, you start seeing the laws of life and understand that, one, that your first car may not be your final car. And what I
mm-hmm.
mean by that is you may be inspired in your 20s. Well, I'll use my life. I was inspired in my 20s by hip hop music. So, my just do it was going out and trying to uh, create hip hop events and really introduce artists that were in Charlotte
Mm.
to, people that may not have known about them. Again, a lot of people didn't know that, but these are some business endeavors that I started earlier back then. But that turned into uh clothing line, and then that turned into financial literacy. Like, this isn't my first business. I've always had that mentality, but these different vehicles that, are, oh, okay, I'm kind of tired of this vehicle because I'm not inspired by it anymore. Let me move to another vehicle. Like, you just continue and learn in life. And it's being great because at every stage you take something from it and just continue to grow and get that wisdom, and that prepares you for that next stage.
Yeah, and it takes courage to kind of do that as well, right? Because it's it's so easy to just not try.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so easy to just accept the status quo. It's easy to just go with the flow. Um, and you also have to kind of count your blessings and your luck, because sometimes stuff just kind of falls in your lap, and it's
Yep.
up to you on what you do with it, right?
Absolutely.
Um, I admit, like, I am one of the luckiest people in the world, and I have I have been very lucky and fortunate to make the right decisions when these like opportunities fall in my lap, you know. And so, as much as I preached hard work and education and all that good stuff, a lot of it is luck, man, and you got to take advantage of whatever luck comes your way.
Yeah, man. Like, I don't know. In my faith, I call it favor, man. Like, sometimes God sees what you do in the time when no one's watching. Either it being, some prayer, or it's the extra work that you've put in, or the extra book that you read. Like, just those times where people just don't know about. And it's like, you know what? I'm gonna reward him for that. So those moments that you may think is luck is really just a reward for being diligent and having that perseverance.
Well, I'm gonna buy God a beer for all the luck he's, or the rewards he has given me. Nah, but what inspired you to start Boardroom Visions?
I mean, honestly, man, it kind of goes back to, I, all right, I'm gonna go back to the very inception of the whole life coaching conversation and how that curtailed into boardroom vision. So I'm sitting in corporate America, and it's me and like three other work colleagues of mine. Now, it's keep in mind, all of us are African Americans, of which that's not really a common thing in like the levels that we've kind of gotten to in our careers, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we were in this room and we're just kind of looking around, and to the world or to society, you would think like, man, these are like four successful people, like everything is good, they should be happy, and it's like, and I'm just hearing people, like, we're just kind of talking at this point. The meeting was done. And I'm hearing, each one of these individuals just kind of, tell their story a little bit and kind of talk through what, they've personally gone through. And no one really seemed fulfilled. It was
Hmm.
like, man, it was everyone like all the money in the world, like status, so on and so forth. But there was still like an emptiness, like, man, there's like something else that, that could fulfill this thing that people were just looking for. So in that very moment, literally, like God just said, you know what? Then you're gonna be a life coach. And I literally stopped the conversation. I was like, hey y'all, I think I'm gonna be a life coach. And they started laughing and thought I was like just joking, but I was like, no, I'm serious. Like literally, as soon as I left that conversation, I went started looking up life coach certifications here in Charlotte, and within 3 months, I was in a life coach training class. Just getting my certifications, doing the proper due diligence of learning how to coach people. Because I mean, it's always kind of innately been there a little bit. Like I've always been the guy people come to and ask for advice and things of that nature. But I wanted to do it with number one, the credentials, and number two,
Right.
uh, just get the proper training. So I'm not just out here, you know, doing what I just feel is right.
Bullying
So
people around.
yeah. No, really getting like really foundation and principles in there to kind of
Right,
hold
right.
myself accountable. So no, went through the life coaching sessions, got two certifications. I'm a career coach and a life coach. And just through that process, it number one allowed me to uncover some things that were kind of inside of me for a long time. But number two, really allowed me to identify who I've been called to help. And I have a passion for helping African American men, like just because I feel that a lot of the and this is coming off of George Floyd, and just so much other stuff that happened in 2020. It's like, man, I just want to see my brothers, step up and really become the leaders of our community and not really have to depend on politicians or, all of these other outside influences when we can really just take back um, the control of our own destinies. So my passion just really started from there. It really started as a life coach, and I started Boardroom Vision under the principle of building up men under 7 key pillars. Finance was one of those pillars of which I talked about a lot because I understand the importance of meeting men where they are and fulfilling a need, especially whenever, men feel as if they're making decisions based off of money or having to pay bills or whatever the case may be. So I put a lot into Boardroom Vision from a finance principle, but I also talked about health. I also talked about faith. I also talked about marriage and relationships and family and just the whole gamut of what it takes to be a overall holistic good man, because these are principles that I embody, that I take 100%, like just I love family. I love my faith. Those are like two non-negotiables with me. Like no amount of money I will have me jeopardize those two principles of faith and family. So as I started putting stuff in the universe and just really, posting every day and, you know, doing my speaking and so on and so forth, uh, at the top of this year, it was like, you know what, Ben? Let's just double down on finance. Like this is what you're really, really good at. You have over 15 years experience. Like you've built your own life financially into a really good state by doing what what you're teaching. So you're credible from that perspective. Just double down on finance. So I had a conversation with myself. I prayed about it, and we just kind of zeroed in on the niche of finance. Even though I still um, market the holistic thing, but it's
Mm-hmm.
really more so a finance focus now, just to make sure that we're capturing the right audience and that we can target the right ways.
Well, it's awesome that you got the certifications and everything else, right? Because that it puts you in a position to do it in a healthy, professional, uh, well-off manner, right?
Absolutely.
Because I perfect example. Do you remember Carlos Andres Fonseca or whatever? Like whatever he goes by. Do you remember
Carlos.
Carlos? I'm. He was on. He was on the Bank of America team somewhere, but I don't remember his position. But anyways, we've been
Okay.
trying. We've been trying to like get him to become a little bit healthier and lose some weight.
Okay. Did he go to UNC?
He went to Charlotte, yeah.
Okay. All right.
But but man, we do it in the most unhealthy way, man. Like like we care about the dude. We want him to lose weight. We want him to have a better, longer, healthier life.
Right.
But man, we just bully that man until like and I know that it's not healthy, but at the same time, it's like I don't know what else would work, right? Like but
Right.
again, none of us have, taken those certifications. So it's good that you're doing that. But it something caught my ear that I actually got into an argument. Well, not an argument, but I got debated for a little bit. Um, you had mentioned that you were sitting in corporate America and it was, basically four black dudes, and that's pretty rare, right?
Right.
Like that's rare.
Right.
Um, why do you think that is?
Oh man, how much time we got? Woo.
Oh
All right.
Lord.
Yeah, I don't even know where to start with this one. I think it's for a few different reasons. Um, Number one, I think there has been gatekeepers in the past that whenever you go through the hiring process,
Mm-hmm.
there's just a inherent bias there that just may choose somebody that's more familiar. And I mean, and I'm not one of those people that's, hey, that's racism, this, that, and the third. I just think that's just how it is sometimes, right? Like if you have two people and you're looking at the resumes, they're almost identical, and you're just looking at who you think will fit better on the team, your first inclination is who can I go grab a beer with after work?
Yep.
And it's usually going to be someone that shares more commonalities, right?
Yep.
As opposed to you thinking, oh, well, my team may be better if I get someone with a different perspective or a different background. It's just more, it kind of becomes a more selfish type of thing, right? To where it's
Yep.
just, you know, I feel comfortable grabbing a beer with him, and this is who I'm going to hire. It's really, I think it's just surface level, right? I think that happens a lot of times. I think there's situations where there could be a lot of nepotism in corporate America where people are undeserving of jobs, or just because, their nephew, cousin needed a job, or, family member, friend. I think people kind of get slid in that way.
Yep.
And I mean, which is networking, right? Like that's how the game is played. Like I'm getting all my jobs off networking. So I understand that. But when you look at a lot of how all these different scenarios go together, it can be it can be discouraging sometimes, right? For an African American man to say, why would I even want to go into that space when I can just do this over here and either be a lot happier or try to make my own money, be my own boss, whatever the case may be. So I think it's that friction there a little bit to where there's like why would I even go there when I'm not wanted there? And I think there's a thing of you know HRs HRs and companies haven't done enough to create opportunities. And there's also the hiring practice too, right? In which, and I'm starting to see a lot of this change over the past 2 years. These conversations have drastically changed, specifically in the companies I've been at. but in how you hire, because the old homage is, oh, what school did you go to? You know, is he qualified? Well, what constitutes is he qualified? Is the man smart and can he do the job? Or is the woman smart or can she do the job? Like, what skill sets are you looking for? And I think in the past, what we've just kind of done is put, if you don't have X certification or if you didn't go to this type of university, it just kind of automatically marks you out of uh, the the application pool. Whereas now I think we're having a little bit more of a holistic conversation to say, well, they may have not went to this university, but they have this experience. And in this
Mm-hmm.
experience, you get this type of skill set. And you're looking for this type of skill set for this particular job. If they're smart enough, we can train them to know the product or the business or whatever the case may be. And I think that's the type of conversation and growth we need to see in corporate America to really start to get a new wave of talent in that is more diverse. And this is not just Black people now. I'm talking from all ethnic groups
Right,
to,
right.
to become more diverse and really start to hear different types of life's experiences within the workplace.
Yeah, that's man, I've had this type of conversation so many times with people about whether it's bias on purpose, whether it's racism or not, and unconscious bias
Yep.
of, well, if I have to choose between a first name that I can't really pronounce very well or a Benjamin,
Mm-hmm.
I'm probably going to go with the Benjamin, right?
Yep.
Because I'm going to feel a little bit more comfortable with that. And that's kind of just human nature, right?
Yep.
Like you're attracted to people who or you can connect with a little bit more, who you feel a little bit more comfortable, who you think are part of your tribe, with the
Yep.
whole tribalism thing, right? Um, yeah, and I think another big part of that is education. As crazy as somebody was telling me, and maybe I should have looked it up before I say this, but I'm pretty sure it was only like 30 to 35% of Americans that even graduate with a 4-year college degree.
Really?
It's like crazy low.
I would not have thought of that. That is crazy.
Now, again, I should have probably looked this up because I'm
Yeah, I
just
want
going
to
off
fact
of.
check that.
I'll look it up right now.
I would be shocked.
All
Yeah,
right,
hold
let's
on. Let me
see.
get this.
Percentage of Americans graduating 39%.
Wow, you're right.
Now, think about that. 39%. Now, I guarantee that most of them are going to be white Americans, right?
Yeah.
Now,
Let's see if I can-
the minorities are going to be falling way behind. So yeah, so 11% are black. Out of that 39%, I believe this is what I'm looking at. Out of that 39%, 60% of them are white, 11% of them are black, and 13% are Hispanic.
Mm,
Now that's crazy.
that is nuts. I wouldn't have
So
believed that until I just looked it up. And this is coming from Statista, so this is a valid website too. This is not like somebody in the basement creating stats.
right. No fake news here. At least
Right.
not on purpose. No, but just thinking about those statistics, it's like, all right, me, myself, you, and the people that are surrounded by, we're already the minority
Right.
on top of the minority, right? Because it's just scary to think about. And I remember I was joking around with this girl. I was like, man, like up until like college, all of my friends were black. Then I went to college, they all turned white. And she was like, yo, that's racist. I was like, no, but that's like legit. Like that was legit. And then she goes,
How was that racist? Just out of curiosity, and what was her explanation for that?
that's just because I'm bringing race into it, right? Like once you bring
Okay.
race into something, a lot of people start to get a little sensitive, right? Like,
Right.
can you really say that? But then turns out her husband is black, and she was like, you know what? My husband said the same thing. I was just like, I'm like, yo, I'm not trying to be racist, but those are just the facts, right? And then on top of that, let's say that you are part of the 11%. of that 39% that is African American, chances are, like you were saying, if you apply to a college job and that resume looks about the same as John Smith, I hate to break it to you, but John Smith is probably going to get that job.
Happens all the time.
And that shit sucks, man. That shit is stupid. That
Nah, it
shit is
happens all
like,
the time.
oh man, I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and here's my thing too, right? Like, I don't even consider that racism though, because I'm a firm believer if you call everything racism, nothing
Oh,
will be.
I completely
Like,
agree. I completely agree. I tell people to stop using that term so loosely.
yeah, I agree. Like, you got to call it what it is. Sometimes I think even us as minorities just have to understand when there are opportunities to educate.
Yep.
Like, because sometimes people are just ignorant.
Yep.
Sometimes people are, you know, just like unaware, and you have
Yep.
to like just kind of bring that awareness to the room. But that takes courage, right? And it's easier to just kind of lash out or do things. But I mean, I think it's a joint effort for everybody to really move this nation into the next uh, stratosphere. Because what's really happening, right, is as we discourage, African Americans or any other brown people from developing our best and brightest, we're losing out on talent, which means we're losing in the global race right now because of this systematic infrastructure we have. And until we break down this systematic infrastructure and really, truly, truly, truly go out and recruit our best and brightest to create better technology, to create better businesses and entrepreneur endeavors, like America is never going to be number one again until we get past this thing that is hovering over this nation.
False. We just go and grab the brightest, most talented people from around the world and bring them here. That's literally what we're doing. I did data analytics my entire career until now, and then I swear to God, like half the people there were on visa. Either that, or we would just start hiring people in India at a fraction of the cost to do all the heavy lifting when it came to the coding.
But do you think, and now maybe this is a question more of a statement. So when we go recruit those people from other nations, are they not sending money back home to their families and, like supporting their communities?
Oh,
Uh,
absolutely they are.
as opposed to families that will be in the United States and kind of having this country build organically. Like,
But
that's kind of where I would,
I,
right?
I completely agree that we should do this internally. But we got two things that will never change here. One, the quality of life. We have it so good here, man.
We do.
Like, even if I were to never finish college, I could still be a manager at a Domino's making 40, 50K a year. That's not a lot, but that is more than enough to start a family, start investing, have a,
Especially if you get married and your wife bringing in another 40 to
exactly.
50K, like it's a 100K household,
Now, will that
one or two
household
kids.
truly come out ahead and create generational wealth? Probably not. Like, it's not impossible, but it becomes very difficult.
Yeah, I mean, now that's where financial guys like me come in. So I'm
Exactly.
not gonna throw the baby out with the bathwater because I think even if with subtle budgets, you can still work your way into a wealthy position.
Oh, I completely agree, right? But the level of sacrifice becomes greater, right?
Yeah, most
So
most people aren't willing to do. Absolutely.
right. So like someone like Ben Williams, myself, you, we can all like start to like invest and not even like feel it, to be
Great.
honest, right? So it's people like my parents, my mom's trying to like invest and all this other stuff, but she has to sacrifice a lot because she don't make shit, right?
Right.
So it's kind of like, yes, we can both invest, we can both grow, and we can both do the right thing, but one person will have it a lot easier than the other. And that's just kind of the fact of life. Um, but what I'm saying is, here in America, you can literally work without a college education and live a comfortable life, right? You go to other countries, And if you tell them, hey, you're not going to go to college, you're not going to do this, you're going to live probably not a very good life. So the motivation to go out and learn as much as you can and get out ahead and try to make your way to America or get an American job, making American dollars, that drive is there because they don't really have many other choices.
Mm.
So that's one thing that I think we cannot compete with. And the other thing is the investment, right? Like teachers here make almost nothing.
Yeah.
There are school systems where they literally punish them by taking away money.
Yeah.
Um, Even like segregated school systems still exist
I,
today
I,
where
I agree 1000% with where you're going with this one. I agree.
you can't, if we're going to keep that same system, then we'll never, ever, ever get the equity and the growth and the homegrown talent that
I agree.
a bunch of other countries are creating.
Well, no, yeah, and that's all part of my infrastructure change too. Well, I mean, not like I'm running for office or anything, but like
I'll
if
vote
I
for you,
had
man.
a
Don't worry about it. I'll vote for you no matter what.
if I had an ideal world, yeah, that's definitely uh how you start to identify your best and brightest, right? By redesigning our educational system. That it definitely starts there. I agree 1000%.
Yeah, it's pretty sad to kind of like see the way they do things, and I don't know. But what can we do other than vote for whoever we think that can make changes? And I don't know, as a parent, be a participant in your school system. And
Yeah, that's it. That's what you have to do, and I think
yeah,
that's where it starts, right? Like if you have a child that's in a system, make sure you're showing up for parent teacher conferences. Make sure
yep,
you're uh, on the all the councils, and like be active to ensure that your kids are getting what they're supposed to get, and fight. And I think I mean, that's why family, I kind of go back to what I was saying earlier, is so important. More than just, hey, you have two parents in the household, which is very important, right? I think
oh
kids
yeah,
need to kind of see examples of what healthy relationships look like and what love looks like and things
yep,
like that.
yep,
But just the aspect of having a protector, someone that's going to fight for you, someone that's going to make sure that you're getting proper education, proper food, like all of those, like just things that you see as a child are become instilled in you.
yeah. I
And to
mean,
your voting point, though, I don't know. I actually heard this quote a couple of days ago, and it's had me thinking a lot. I heard a guy say, "Poor people vote, but rich people lobby." And I think
yeah,
in order to truly see change, we have to start pooling that vote together with our finances to really start demanding and holding these politicians accountable. Because voting is one thing, which I think, if done in and of itself, is not. I don't think it's enough not to see the type of change that we're really looking to implement.
yeah. It's kind of rigged. I don't want to say rigged. Maybe that's not the right word, but it's designed a certain particular way to make sure that those who have power and influence are going to get the best deal out of everything. And 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 yeah, I mean that's true, right? Like voting maybe is for anybody and everybody, but those who have power can go in and be like, "Hey man, let's change this law a little bit, you know?"
Right. I got $1 million towards your campaign. If
Yep.
if you make this happen, you will get it. And I will support you as my candidate. Like that's how the bosses do. Because let's be honest, right? I think if you really did a poll of most Americans on their views alone, taking away the blue, taking away the red,
Yep.
and all the bias that come with the gang related affiliations,
Yep.
if you ask them about issues, most Americans tend to be in the middle. There are some
Yep.
things they're conservative about, and there's some things that they're sort of liberal about. And but however, the way that our system is designed, you're forced to choose one or the other. And it kind of puts us at this uh I won't say disadvantage, or at this bone of contention, because I don't know, me as a independent and as a person who truly votes independent too, like I try to look at the issues and I vote based off of what I think the world needs at this moment and what this person is running on. Uh, you look and see that there are some wicked things on both sides, and there are some good things
Yeah.
on both sides. Like,
Yep.
if I'm being
Yep.
honest, it's like, well, I like the Democrats because of this, but I like the conservatives because of this. Like, so I don't know. I When I get into politic conversation, I get so frustrated at times because I really don't like the way that it's designed and the options that are on the menu.
Yeah. No, I agree. And like you were saying, like if you just take the issues and you just lay them out, most people will agree on most things. And yet, for some reason, these politicians just refuse to work together and refuse to like move things forward, even if like everyone agrees. I remember, God, like the first, not the first Bush, the second Bush, what was it, George W. Bush? What was his
Yeah,
middle name?
yeah, George second. Yeah, I got you. I got you.
Anyways, him. He had like all the Democrats saying, "All right, let's pass like this immigration bill, blah blah," and all the Republicans were like, "Yeah, I think we need to do this, blah blah." Most of the country was like, "Yeah, let's do something about it." And for 8 years, nothing happened. And it's like, wait a minute. If the people are saying yes, and the Democrats are saying yes, and the Republicans are saying yes, like, what is the holdup, right? But there's always like that one guy that can like block stuff, right?
Yep.
And the same thing with like today and with Obama and with Trump, it's like there's always somebody who can just, even if everybody agrees on something, there's always going to be some people who are like, you know what, I'm not going to push this bill forward because I personally don't think it's a good idea. And
Well,
it's like,
it's never because of the main issue. It's usually like the hidden stuff that they want to put
well,
in the
yeah,
bill. Like, yeah, I'm
yeah,
from Texas, but I need like this extra oil, this oil regulation done. Added on to that bill, or just some sideways stuff to get what their district or state needs. And I think that's when we can kind of start to convolute things because the people are the ones that end up hurting in a lot of these circumstances, right? Because they end up not getting what they need too late,
yeah,
and you see the economy wreck. Like right now, we're going through, which I think is the beginning of a recession, in my personal opinion. Just for what I've been studying, what I've been seeing, I think there's going to be a housing bubble that pops here. I don't know. I think we're in for a ride, man. Like, if I'm being honest with you.
well, I'll tell you what, my 401k is hurting.
Yeah, hey, everybody's is for sure.
I'm like, damn it, Joe Biden, what are you doing?
And like, even as an investor, man, I'm sitting back like, well, I want to preface with this. I coach DCA, which is a principle called dollar cost averaging. So if you are, trying to get into investing, the concept is, every set day, usually on your paycheck day or the day that you look and transfer your savings, you invest X amount into the same companies and or ETFs. That way it's the same way that they do your 401k, but into your personal brokerage accounts.
Right,
So I mean, if you're a DCAer, then anytime is good to invest, right? It doesn't matter if the
right,
stock market is up, doesn't
right.
matter if the stock market is down, just continue to DCA, and over time your returns are going to be in your favor. Now, if you're someone who, tries to find spots in the market and inserts large amounts of cash at a down moment to see good gains whenever the market does rebound. I don't know. You're in a predicament right now. It's right. It's like, do you sit and wait to see if this goes down, or do you think this is the bottom? Like, I don't like. We are in a very interesting spot right now in regards to where this economy could head, just due to inflation, due to the war, due to supply and demand issues that are like the supply chain issues that we're seeing. Like, there are a lot of macroeconomic things that are in play that could impact our 401ks and the economy over the next year or two.
Yeah, it's I I I studied economics. I've worked in the finance world, but I'm not gonna sit here and pretend like I know when the bottom is here. I am not gonna pretend like I know what's gonna happen next. But that methodology of week by week, month by month, just keep adding to your portfolio,
Keep pounding.
that's what I do.
It's the safest way. Now I agree 1,000%. I agree 1,000%. That's what I recommend to anyone. And it takes the anxiety and pressure away from investing, especially with like because my target audience is like, that school teacher that may not have a finance degree, or
Hmm.
the gentleman that may work at the furniture factory. Like, I want to help coach people like that, because like they are the ones that bust their butt every single day.
Yep.
They're saving and they have decent savings, but it's like if you're doing the right thing, like put that into another vehicle that's going to get you passive income over time. And that's what with the stuff we just haven't been taught, right? So, just trying to get that education out there so that people do become a little bit more financial literate, to prepare themselves for either retirement or to have their kids with, or to leave their kids with some type of inheritance when they
Right.
leave.
Right. No, I know way too many people who don't have a retirement account, who are my age or a little younger or whatever, and I'm just like, man, like that for me is scary. Um, but obviously you're doing a great thing by trying to educate people. So thank you for what you're doing, man. Like that, this is exactly what we need in this country.
Man, I love it, bro. Like I literally would do it for free. Like honestly, I do my crypto calls for free on Thursday. Like I mean, I recently just got a partnership with I Trust Capital, but even that is, like I would hop on that Thursday call and do it for the love of the game, because number one, I think this is a whole different conversation, which I don't know we'll be able to get into today, but I
Right.
think crypto is the future. I think it is the technology that's going to be used to kind of address some of those issues that we were talking about earlier in regards to just like systematic racism and things like that. Like I believe in crypto technology because it doesn't have a face. It doesn't care what color you are. It is the it will be the system that we use that put trust back into our systems.
All right, I'm taking out all my savings and buying crypto tomorrow.
No, I didn't say that. I did
Yep,
not
too
say that.
late, too late.
I did not say that.
If I end up on the streets, man, I'm coming after you, all right?
I did not say that. Definitely. Now, definitely be precautious. We have a long way to go before we're at the state I just described. But if if a person has patience, if they're prepared to dollar cost average, if and stay committed and don't pull it out whenever you see down swings in the market, because it's going to be tons of those.
Mm-hmm.
Just have a 15-20 year plan. And I personally believe crypto is the most undervalued asset class in the market right now.
All right, all in tomorrow.
Don't do it though. Don't go all in. I wouldn't recommend any more than 5% of your net worth into crypto, and that's still a lot. That's a big position in my opinion.
Yeah, I think out of my personal portfolio, I think crypto's like 4%
Right. Yeah. So yeah, I
ish.
mean, anywhere between 5 to 10. 10 is pushing it. I know Kevin O'Leary said he just upped his to 20%, which I think is, but he has a lot more money than us to play with as well.
Right,
So
exactly, right? It's like depending on
so
the position you're in, right? Like,
right,
cause
yeah.
god damn, man. Nah. Thank you for making the time, man. This has been really good.
Nah, man, I appreciate it, man. I love these conversations, bro. Like anything to, just even if it's the spark of seed for anyone out there, man, I would definitely say uh, we're at a spot right now where we're extremely lucky. Like I
Yep.
look at, I was raised in a single parent household. My dad worked in a furniture factory, and I seen him bust his hump. And to start a business back in the early 90s, the late 80s, like you had to have so much of a budget, right? Like you had to go out and buy mailers and, advertisement on TV and just all
Mm,
these things
mm.
to even get started. But in 2022, where we have Instagram for free and the
Yep.
internet and the iPhones are in our hands. Like we are so blessed to be living in a time where we can literally turn a iPhone into a business. And I'm just excited to be able to help get information out there. I think we need more people in this field. I think we need more people uh, looking internally and saying, all right, what can I provide to the larger cause, even if it's not finance? Well, you may be able to, provide spiritual counsel, or you may be able to, teach, little girls how to cook, or oh, I hate to sound like that. I teach little girls how to uh, be better people, whatever
Right.
the case may be. I think everyone has a specific purpose on their life that we all have to identify, because it really takes everyone to kind of come together and make this world a better place. Seriously.
No, I agree, man. I think the one thing that people need to realize is that we're all in this together, man. And the more you try and like split people up and the more you try and do all that stuff, you're just hurting yourself and everyone around you.
Agreed.
So the more you can kind of like, even if it's just listening, man, like that's the one thing that's crazy. It's like so many people are out there like looking for someone to talk to. Even if you can
Mm-hmm.
just be someone to just listen, people will be like so much better off. So,
Man, listen, we're human, man, but it's all about love at the end of the day, man.
oh,
Like, where's the love in
absolutely.
people's heart, man? You got to have love in your
Absolutely.
heart, man. Everything stems from that. If you don't have love in your heart, man, you're going to have a tough time. I'm telling you. Like, you got to
Thousand
figure it
percent
out.
agree.
You know what I mean? If you feel a lot of hatred and disdain, or like, yo, go see a therapist, figure out what the trauma is
Yeah,
coming from, like deal with it, because you don't want to take that into your marriage. You don't want to take that into your everyday work life. Like when you're walking with that heavy feeling, like it's not the best place to be, because you're going to end up exploding, and it's going to be in a way that you're going to regret.
absolutely. I try and approach everything with love and think that whatever the other person's doing, they're not doing it with malintent, right? They're not trying to hurt anybody. I just think that if you think of everything as positive, it'll help you sleep at night and it'll just bring out the best in people.
1000%. And then I don't want to sound like I'm perfect either, because I make my
Oh.
mistakes daily. Just ask my wife. I can call in here now. She would say the same. But I think when you have good intents, you can easily understand when you're wrong and admit those times. So I
Oh
think
yeah.
that's the bigger thing
Absolutely. Love is the key.
for sure.
All right, Ben. Well, again, I appreciate the time. It's been an honor, like hearing you talk and kind of listen to your work because I think it's very important. And we'll have to do this again sometime.
Man, I'm with it, man. Just let me know anytime, man. Thank you again for the platform. I know it's been a while. We just got to catch up off camera. You know what I mean? To just go catch up, man. I
Absolutely.
don't
Next
know if
time
you
in
play.
next time I'm in Charlotte,
Let's do it.
because
Let's do it.
Ben moved to New York, right?
I did not know that. He did not tell me that. I know he was thinking about potentially moving somewhere, but I didn't think it was New York.
Oh man, yeah, we all need to catch up. You need to text that dude and yell at him.
Wow.
Yell at him with love.
We'll talk about that one offline. I have an idea of why he moved, but we'll discuss.
All right. Well, I'll talk to you later, man.
All right, man. Be safe, bro.
See ya.
Peace.